Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and in this video we are going to be going over the updates and changes to Ninja coming in Final Fantasy XIV's next expansion, Shadowbringers. Now, while all this information is coming out of the North American Media Tour, it is all subject to change still. We're going to have a watermark somewhere on the video, and keep in mind any potencies or anything you see here could still be different by the time the final product actually comes. It is in development after all. But with that, let's get into Ninja. So first up, let's cover the skills that Ninja still has and are mostly the same, ones that maybe just saw some minor potency changes or things like that. We have Spinning Edge, Gust Slash, Aeolian Edge, Armor Crush, Shade Shift, Hide, Throwing Daggers, Death Blossom, Ninjutsu, Tenchi, and Jin are all roughly the same, though that's a little bit more information that we need to go into there. And most of the ninjutsu we had before is also the same, if not for just some minor potency changes. Suiton's the only one that's slightly different, and we're going to bring that up later. Some of the removed skills are Jugulate, Smokescreen, Shadewalker, Duality, the Dripping Blades traits, and the Enhanced Dexterity traits. Was surprised to see Duality going, but it's gone. Finally, we come to skills with significant changes. For one, Shadowfang is back to comboing directly off of Spinning Edge instead of Gust Slash, so you can access it quickly from the beginning of a combo. Mug had its Ninki generation increase from 30 to 40 with the trait that you eventually get for it. Assassinate saw a pretty major change. It is no longer an execute for low health enemies. Instead, it can only be used when the ninja is Assassinate ready. Now, the only place I see that you can get Assassinate ready is from the Dream Within a Dream skill, which, while it still does the triple hit that it was doing before, now also grants Assassinate ready. Trick Attack had its potency increased. Yes, it's otherwise the same. Suiton I mentioned earlier, since we're talking about Trick Attack. The only thing that changed here is that the effect now lasts 20 seconds instead of 10. Otherwise, the description is entirely the same. This is a fairly big deal, though, as it means you can pre-Suiton before the Trick Attack well more in advance than you were able to before. Whereas you would always have to get the Trick Attack within that 10-second time frame. Maybe it would be more optimal to do it 12 seconds or 15 seconds. But you won't have to sit on your Suiton before using the Trick Attack because the duration is basically the same duration as an entire recast of Ninjutsu. Shikuchi got to keep its reset trait with certain ninjutsu, but it also has 2 charges with another new trait that it gets. Kasatsu also has 2 charges now without even getting a trait, but it does get a trait that grants access to 2 new ninjutsu, which we'll cover in the new abilities section. A pretty major change is actually a change to Ninki Skills. All 3 of the pre-existing Ninki using skills have seen a fairly significant change. Now, Hellfrog Medium and Bavakakra's actual damage and function of being single target and AoE Ninki users, or Ninki expenders, those are still the same. However, they now only have a 1-second recast time, so you're not dancing around the 50 or 100-second cooldowns that they may have had before. Tenchi Jin also, and this is a pretty big one, no longer consumes Ninki at all. It is a skill completely independent from the system, so you'll have to change around the way you think about that skill entirely. It otherwise functions exactly the same, so if you didn't like the way it made you feel before, the only solace you have is that you won't be waiting for 80 Ninki to feel that way anymore. Speaking of Ninki, while it is still the major resource for the ninja, it now generates off weapon skills and combos instead of off of your auto attacks, a change I desperately wanted for the ninja. By the time you have the level 78 trait, it is up to 8 Ninki per weapon skill. Finally, we come to the new skills for Ninja. Now, like most of the other jobs that had some sort of awkward AoE situation before, Ninja got a new AoE skill that combos off of Death Blossom. This one, Hakemu Jinsatsu, combos off Death Blossom for a measly 140 potency, but it does also extend Hutan's timer by 10 seconds. Mestre is another new skill that they'll get, and it actually converts your current Suiton into 40 Ninki. I'm not really sure how that's going to work with actually using Suiton more often. I'm wondering if there's ever going to be a time where you'll want to Suiton, wait close to the 20-second mark, then maybe Trick Attack, Suiton, and then convert into Ninki, or I don't know. I wonder if, or maybe you do it the other way around, where you get the Suiton and then you convert it into the Ninki, and then you do another Suiton for the Trick Attack right after, and then you have all the Ninki. I don't know. I'm really interested to see what the theory crafters actually do with this skill in particular. Earlier we mentioned 2 new ninjutsu abilities. They are Goka Mekyaku and Hyosho Ranryu. Goka Mekyaku is a buffed version of Katan, and it is only accessible during Kasatsu. This can be accessed by going Chi 10 or Jin 10, and it's just a ton of AoE damage. Hyosho Ranryu is a buffed version of Hyotan, which is also a ton of single target damage in this case, also only accessible with Kasatsu, and with the exact mudras of Chi into Jin. Ninja's final new ability is Bundchen. Now, while Tenchi-jin might no longer consume Ninki, Bundchen does, and so this is going to be your new third Ninki spender. When you use this ability, it summons a shadow clone that will copy your most recently used weapon skill and play a little animation that's like half a second delayed after yours. Now, the copied weapon skill does about 45% of your weapon skill's base damage. The copied weapon skill can actually direct or critically hit separate from your hit. So you may not crit, but the copied weapon skill would. And when you actually use the copied weapon skill, it will read simply as attack on the opponent, at least in the Mediator build that we got to play. Maybe different in the final build. Now, the biggest thing I noticed is that effects are applied twice here, as when I use the Shadowfang dot, it actually applied 2 of them. Now, because I don't know the exact potency difference between what you do and your clone, with the 45% thing really being more of a guesstimate based on the base values that I was actually seeing, that's still an extra dot with, 45% of the potency that you were having before, so it's a fairly significant increase to your Shadowfang's potency. I don't know, or I didn't think to even do Armor Crush while under this, but I can't imagine ever really wanting to get a 60-second increase to Armor Crush. You'd have to be really desperate to kind of do that, because that's almost the equivalent of just, giving up the extra damage from the Aeolian Edge or the dot from Shadowfang. It just didn't sit super well with me, unless you absolutely needed to do it because of your rotation. Now, another really big thing is that for both weapon skills, you do generate Ninki. So each you and your clone's weapon skills will generate 8 Ninki each. So every single GCD is worth 16 Ninki under this time. Now, of course, you can use this additionally for AoE rotations to pump out a ton of extra AoE damage on top of all the new Kasatsu and just so many things. Ninja got a lot of stuff that I think is really cool, and Bundchen especially. I have no idea how to put all of this together for Ninja. While I kind of understand at least the core concepts of what they were aiming for here, the changes are super significant. The most basic functionality of it is a lot simpler to access, but seeing how a 100-second cooldown Tenchi-jin with no Ninki cast, combined with Bundchen, which is 80 Ninki with 120 seconds, with Kasatsu charges, the idea, do you save up 1, do you save up 2, and then just do a super burst every 2 minutes, or it's so many things that could go entirely different that I cannot wait to see what the Theory Crafters do with Ninja, because I like the majority of these changes, and that's coming from someone who really didn't like the Stormblood version of Ninja. Normally here is where I would stop and mention traits, but I already pretty much mentioned them the whole time. I mentioned the Shikuchi one, I mentioned the Ninki one, later on I mentioned the Mug one. It doesn't really seem like there was much of anything I actually missed. Enhanced Kasatsu giving you access to the new Ninjutsu, but not even the charge. It doesn't have anything to do with that. So I guess that's just it for the video, just covering some of the new stuff, and I'm really looking forward to Ninja in the expansion. But anyway, let me know what you thought about the Ninja changes and updates coming in 5.0. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share, and stay tuned, because there's a ton of other information coming out of the Mediator. I will see all of you in the next one, and until then, take care.